Welcome back to another edition of Sit Down Saturday. I know it's been a while. I've missed you. Have you missed me? Look, real quick update. I sustained a back injury not too long ago. Thank God for my wife, who has been nursing me back to health. I know reviews and videos have been sparse. Hope you got a chance to watch the solo review. I think it's the best video I've ever done in my life, and I'm gonna do a lot more stuff like that in the future, because I enjoy doing it. Today we are gonna be talking about this Bayformers situation. But first, let's talk about Cliff Jumper. Been getting some PMs about it. I don't think there's a great option. One looks a little wonky in the middle, and the other one looks like his name should be Cliff Hiker. Am I right? So let's talk about this Bayformer situation. Apparently they are pulling the plug on it. I'm sure there are people that are upset about it. I, for one, am not. Happy to see it go, but let's talk about the history of it. We first learned about the possibility of this from a Hasbro investor preview for the 2018 New York Toy Fair that showed a number of films they had on the docket. Interestingly enough, it didn't include any live-action Transformers sequels. And I think that kind of got everybody's gears sort of moving and thinking about what the future was. Not everybody was totally surprised, since the last Transformers movie, what was it, The Last Night, which was trash, pulled in, I think, 604 million, which is still good numbers. Not as good as the billion-plus days of Dark Side of the Moon. But there was also rumors that this Bumblebee film that's coming in December was going to spawn 2 spin-offs from that. They could have been sequels in a Bumblebee kind of trilogy, or other related Transformer films taking place during that era. All part of that Bayverse conglomerate. But, as Collider has reported, it's now official. The Bumblebee movie is kind of being referred to as Transformers 6, and the Transformers 7 film that was slated for June 28th, 2019 is no more. So let's be clear. There is no word of a reboot. No official word. There's rumors, there's speculation, but there's no word on a reboot. So I'm happy about this because I think it is time to kind of cleanse the palate of the Bayverse. And probably by the 6th film of most franchises, things start to kind of taper off. What is the problem with the Bayverse? I think they're numerous. I think the character designs are one of the problems and all that sort of stuff, but let's kind of deconstruct it a bit further. I don't think that Transformers, the original movie, is a bad movie. I think it's a good movie. I just think it's a bad Transformers movie. The overall story of a boy in his car, and the car has magical powers, for lack of a better term, and this coming-of-age narrative and finding love and all that sort of stuff is classic kind of Hollywood big-budget movie, popcorn flick kind of thing. And it does have some heart and soul. It's just off. It's off from what we know of what the characters are and who they're supposed to be. But you can make the argument that they could be a whole bunch of things, because we've already seen them as beasts with real fur for no reason, and numerous other failed ideas, including Moosehead. The second movie went way off the tracks. People blame the Writers Guild strike and all this kind of stuff. I'm not sure that it would have been any better with the writers on board. Then we got the third movie, which I think is probably the best Transformers movie of all of them, because it's the one that arguably deals with the Transformer mythos and story the most. Then we got the fourth one that was trash, and then the fifth one that was hyper trash. So what is the key? I think the key ultimately is that the movies actually need to be about the Transformers, and I think the problem with that is getting a major Hollywood studio to sign on to that concept. All of these films that we've gotten so far deal highly with the human narrative, and I think that's what Hollywood thinks that people will see and connect emotionally with in order to enjoy the ride. Which, interestingly enough, wasn't how most of us got into this. Bumblebee, I think, was initially supposed to be the character that young kids saw the kind of story through, and I don't think any of us that grew up with it identified, related to, or saw these characters through the eyes of Spike. That could be wrong, but I know I didn't. You can kind of remove the Transformers from these Bayverse movies and replace them with any kind of warring factions from outer space, and it still kind of works. You can actually remove the outer space thing and just have warring factions from another part of the world move into wherever they're supposed to be, California somewhere, I'd imagine. I don't really remember or care. And it still works. On a narrative level. I'm not sure that they're going to reboot it as quickly as a lot of people think and hope they are. They might try to let this property relax a little bit. I know Paramount is gearing up for a G.I. Joe thing. They're gearing up for a Micronauts situation, I believe. They're gearing up for John Wick 3, Rocket Man, some other stuff. I'm not sure how much of a viable franchise they see in rebooting this at this point, given the kind of tapering off of ticket sales. I think Hollywood people are kind of dumb oftentimes in that regard, where they look at that data and they say, well, people don't care about Transformers anymore, and the answer is no, they just don't care about the way that you're doing it as much anymore. Because the popcorn flick crowd that was just going to these movies to see something fun after the big game on Friday have a lot of other options now. Really, really good options, really, really controversial options, and some really, really bad options, and disappointing options. And you really got to see the director's cut to appreciate this film options. So the high school football kid named Brad, I feel like he's definitely named Brad, taking his girl to a movie on a Friday night for a big action movie during the summer. Why would he go see Transformers 7 when he can see Infinity War? I think the competition is just different now. The stakes are higher, the material is more respected, the material has more reason to be respected. So what is the key? You know, I would really, really like, this is just me speaking personally, I would really, you fools, like them to take a shot at a Transformers movie that's about the Transformers. Just once. And if it fails, then fine, we gave it a run. I mean, it's not my millions on the line, so it's easy for me to say. But I think this franchise has been successful for 30 years, off and on, for a reason. And when you're not paying attention to that reason, you get stuff like this. Perfect world, and I got the keys to the castle. I would do a 3-part trilogy and try to just make it perfect. I think movie 1 would be the fallout on Cybertron, borrow a lot from the IDW stuff in terms of how it kind of happens in regard to Megatron's rebellion against the caste system, basically, and have the movie climax with a space chase scene a little faster than that in a boarding raid battle between the Autobots and the Decepticons that have just kind of formed as factions, really. Have that Autobot ship crash on Earth, roll the credits. The second film I would base around them kind of coming to, getting affiliated with Earth, and kind of, you know, good fun, good guys versus bad guys, humans in peril, cats and dogs, you get the idea. And kind of have it where the bad guys sort of win at the end and all the good guys seem in jeopardy. And to be honest, what else did I do? I always thought this was cool. I love when people kind of Jeff Johns a situation. And what I mean by that is take something that we've always seen as sort of mundane or unimpactful or insignificant and give great value and significance to it. Like when I was a kid, my buddy Adam and I co-hosted Nerd Rage Radio, we always used to kind of think and talk and say what if. We knew it wasn't really the case, but the story was just richer that way. To consider the crashing of the Ark on Earth kind of the meteor that killed the dinosaurs. So the actions of these Transformers, these alien robotic species, actually play a big part in why we're here. I love little stuff like that. And then the third one, you just go balls to the wall. And maybe even get the Autobots off planet and back to Cybertron and happily ever after kind of thing. But that would be your 3-part kind of narrative in terms of how you view the major events. Rebellion on Cybertron, come to Earth, fight on Earth. That kind of gives you your real G1 feels. The first one kind of gives you your IDW, Fall of Cybertron, War for Cybertron feels. And then the third one, you're kind of left to do whatever as long as you have some kind of big wrap-up at the end. And to me, a 3-part movie series done really sharp and really clever and smart while making the characters identifiable, making the characters actually have characters instead of being caricatures, would be rewarding to the fans, and I think the story has real value. Obviously it would be expensive because of all the CGI, but you gotta pay to play sometimes. I think it's okay to have human characters, but I think that ultimately they become a distraction. I don't think that Transformers is a fair name or title for that first film. I think that first film is Wick, Wicky, and B, and that's probably what they should have called it. But I think the times have changed. I think that Marvel has shown us. I think that even DC has shown us. I think Star Wars has been showing us. I think numerous other franchises have shown us that you can approach fantastic, silly material in a serious way and give it real merit. I think that a lot of times people get defensive, like, well, it's Transformers. What do you expect? Shawshank Redemption? Like, no, dude, I don't. But if you only knew Batman from the 60s, if you only knew Bam, Boom, Pow, Adam West Batman, and somebody came along and was like, look, you can do a movie, a 3-part movie about this character that even has best film opportunities in a Oscar situation like Nolan did with The Dark Knight, I think people would have looked at you crazy then. I don't think that silly, childish properties necessarily exclude themselves from being taken seriously, from being given real heart, real soul. I think Nolan did it with The Dark Knight. I think the Russo brothers have done it with a lot of the Marvel films they've touched. Me personally, I think Snyder has given it to us with Man of Steel and The Watchmen. So I just don't think it's an impossibility. I think it's very possible. You just kind of have to have the right perspective when you look at it. I'm not sure that they ever will. But anyway, enough about me. I'd like to hear your thoughts on how you'd like to to see this franchise rebooted, and if you think it'll get rebooted. History has made me pessimistic about what they decide to do with live action films in regard to Transformers, but I'm an optimist at heart. Or maybe an optimist at heart. The old Optimus joke. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.